Hello, welcome to lesson 19 on the design and implementation of Sakalik transfer portal using server-side Blazor. I am Benjamin Fadina. In this lesson, we shall be making additional customization to the application's navigation and security settings. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is to ensure that my SQL Server service is running. So, click on Services. Then I'll make sure, here I can see that the two SQL Server Database Engine instances, P14 and Ibukunlua, they are running. Now, the next piece of business for me is to start Razin. So I search for Razin and I click on it to start it. Now I'm going to open our application. Close. Now, what I want to do now is to implement a sign out page. How do I do that? I go here, I add empty page, I click next. I'll name the page sign out. So I click save. Sign out. Then I'll go to layout. I'll go to main. I'll click on panel menu. I'll go to items. Then I'll add a new navigation item. The name of that item will be sign out. And the path will be the sign out page. Then I'll click done. Now the next piece of business for me is that I will now go back to my applications. I have Sakalik transfer app here, so I'll say show application directory. Then I'll double click on the Visual Studio solution file for the app so that I can open it in Visual Studio. So here we have the application open in Visual Studio. So I'll click no in the inconsistent line in this message. So we are going to Solution Explorer. Then we go to Pages. And then we are going to look for the sign out page. Sign out the Reso, we expand it, we'll open the code behind file. We are going to put in a custom method. We import this namespace for inject. We will import the namespace for authentication state provider. We import the namespace for session storage service. We will import the namespace for authentication state provider. So we have a synchronous method to log out user. Let's change the name of the method to log out. So here we are getting user authentication state. How? So the user state is equal to await custom authentication state provider dot get authentication state async. Now if user is authenticated, mark user as logged out. After that, go to login page. Otherwise, just go to login page. But before we mark the user, we are going to say something like this. Await session storage dot dot clear async. Now let's have a peek at the definition. So what this one does is to clear session storage items. So here is where we actually log out user. Log out user by marking the user as logged out. It's a method we've created before. Say go to definition of it. Marked user as logged out. Okay, we are already clearing all the session storage items. We mark user as logged out. Since we are doing that, there is no need for this. And there should be no need for this as well. Now, the next thing we want to do is to hook up this method. How do we do that? We'll go back to Reso. We'll open Soccer League Transfer app. And then we'll look for the sign out page. And then we'll go to the load event for the page. We'll add a new event handler. We change the execution, we change the action type to execute C#. Say await logout. Await logout. Then I click done. So let's test the new method. I'm going to run the project from Visual Studio. I could say debug. Go to debug. So I'm going to say delete all breakpoints. Do you want to delete all breakpoints? I say yes. Here is the project. I log in as Muik. I put in my password. I click login. And I'm taken to player's page. Now let me click sign out. Click sign out. That's that. So now I'm going to stop the application. Now the next piece of business for me is to customize the app.reso file. This is the app.reso file. I'll open it. I've opened it, and the first business is for me. I'm going to say at using. I'm going to import the Microsoft.asp.NET Core.components.authorization namespace. Now the next piece of business for me is I'm going to change this row to view. I'm going to change it to authorize road view. Then the next piece of business for me is that I'm going to go to the not found tag. Inside of it, I'm going to put in a cascading authentication state subtag. And then I'm going to take the layout view that talks about page not found. I'll cut it. I'll put it inside the cascading authentication state. Now, the next piece of business for me is that I'm going to save the page, app.reso. Now, the next piece of business for me is I'm going to tell Razin to ignore this app.reso file. So how do I do that? I'll go to Razin. I'll go to settings. I'll now say server slash app.reso and I'll click save. Now, the next piece of business for me is to go to Solution Explorer. This time around, I'll go into shared folder. I'm going to open main layout.reso. And when I get to main layout.reso, I'm going to import Microsoft.asp.NET Core.component authorization namespace. Now, the next piece of business for me is that I want only the site admin, only people in site admin to be able to access application setup. So what do I do? What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a component. I'm going to add a tag called authorize view. Then I'm going to close the tag. And the row I'm going to authorize is site admin. Then I'm going to take everything that is in application setup, I will highlight them, I will cut them, then I'll put them inside site admin. Then I'm going to go back to Radzen. I'm going to go back to settings. I'm still going to add to my code generation list server slash shared slash main dot that main layout dot Reso main layout dot Reso. I'm still going to add to the code ignore list server slash share the main layout dot Reso dot CS server slash shared main layout dot Reso dot designer dot CS. Then we'll click save. Sorry, before we do the let's go back to settings. Let's copy this away and say save, because there's still some things I want to do on the app, on the main layout. Now, on the main layout, I'm going to go to layouts. I'll go to main. This time around, I want to customize the footer. I want to customize the footer. How do I customize the footer? First of all, I'll go to outline. I'll go to page. Then I'll go to events. In the load event, I'm going to add a new handler. The action type, I will change it to set property. The name of the property will be copy message and the value will be empty string. Then I click done. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to open main layout.razor.cs. I'm going to create a couple of methods inside main layout.cs. I have this method that returns the current year. And then I have another method, current year to string, that converts the current year to the string representation. Then I have a third method, copyright string. In this copyright string method, the copyright message for the application is composed. Okay, I'm going to make a modification here. And here I'm just going to say copy message and I don't want this method to return any value, so private async task copyright string. So then I go back to the page load, add a new event handler, execute C sharp, await, copyright string. So after putting in this method in the page load event, and I'm going to click done. Before I run the page, I'm going to okay, this is what I have. So let me run the page. You see how it looks like. I'm running the page in Visual Studio. Oh, my login page has just been wiped out. But fortunately for me, I have backups. So I'm going to copy from the backup file I've made. This is my backup file. So I'm going to open server. I'll go to pages. I'll look for the login page. Copy it. I will open pages folder here. I'll paste. Okay. So I have login.reso. I will open it. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to add login.reso as part of the pages that server slash pages slash login.reso server slash pages slash login.reso.cs server slash pages slash login.reso.designer.cs. I'll click save. Now let's run my app again and see what we have. unable to connect to IIS Express. Well, let me close the solution and open it again. Let me run it. Unable to connect to IIS Express. The failed to register. Okay. Close the application here. Let me run the application here. Running the application in Reso. Okay. Week Ronaldo. Okay. Sign out. Fine. Let click stop. So we have recovered our login page to an extent. Let me run Visual Studio. This is what I have. Okay. Hold on. Let me run it in browsing again. So login. Transfer. Copyright 2020. I want this copyright message to change. So I'm still going to configure it. I'll go back to Razin, stop the application, go back to layout, I go back to main. I'll go back to Visual Studio. I'm going to open layout.cs. Okay, I'm back on my main layout. Now what we did here was let's go back to the load event handler. We created an empty string called copy msg. Then on the second line, we executed the method copyright string, which is this method, and we assigned copy message to it. But there was one thing we forgot to do. there was one thing I forgot to do. And what I forgot to do was to change the text of the footer of the footer. Forgot to change the text to dollar copy message. So $2, $1 is what I need. Dollar copy. I need $1,000,000. I need $1,000,000,000. But uh, for the text there, just $1 is needed. So I've changed that to dollar copy message. So now let's run and see what we got. So I will put in my password. I click login. And now I have the customized footer. Soccer transfer copyright 2020 Music Software and Music Company. Let me go to player transfers page. Okay, so the footer is now customized. Now I stop the app. So after stopping the app, I'm going to go back to the customization of the main layout, which I paused a bit earlier on. So I'll go to shared folder, home main layout. I will ensure that I import this namespace. After importing the namespace, I will ensure that I go back to this place. I'm going to put in an authorized view tag. I close my authorized view tag. Authorized role site admin. Everything in the application setup I put in that authorized view tag. Save my work. Then I quickly go back to Reso, go to settings. I'm going to add under code ignore server / shared / main layout dot Reso. Server / shared / main layout dot Reso dot CS. Then I have server / shared main layout dot Reso dot designer dot CS. And I click save. Now I'm going to run the project again. This time around, I run the project in Reso. So now this main layout dot Reso. And what I've just done here is I've customized main layout dot Reso. So by adding this authorized view roles, authorized view tag. So when I add this authorized view tag and the roles that is authorized to the roles that can authorize that segment is site admin. And inside the authorized view tag, I've placed the application setup portion of the main layout. The implication of this is that only users who are in the site admin role will be able to access the application setup menu portion of the main layout. Now, the last thing I did was I went back to Reso. So, went to settings and I added to my code ignore list. I added server / shared / main layout dot Reso. I added server shared main layout dot Reso dot CS. I added server shared main layout dot Reso dot designer dot CS. So let's run the application. So I run the application. So I log in as Muyik. I type in my password. I can see application setup because Muyik is a member of the site admin role. Now let's look for an application user who is not a member of the site admin role. Let me query the data store. Okay, I have Asenwenga. So let's log in as Asenwenga. Let's sign out here. Let's log in as Asenwenga. The password. Okay, so now you can see Asenwenga cannot access application setup because it does not belong to the site admin role. So let's click sign out. Before we round up this series, in the earlier part of the lesson, I lost my login page because I did not put it in the code ignore list. But fortunately for me, I had a backup that I quickly restored. So, but in the process of restoration, we lost our forgot password functionality. We lost our forgot password functionality. So let's create that. So, but the challenge here, I'm going to stop. So I want to customize the login page. But now the issue here is the login page is no longer available on the list of pages in Ratsim because we have added it to the code ignore list. So what we are going to do, I'm going to create a new empty page. I'll click next. Let me just call it draft or whatever. I'm not going to include it in navigation. Then I click save. Now I'm going to go to toolbox. I'll drag in a row. I'll drag in a column. Then I'll drag in a button. I'm going to call that button PTN forgot. Let's call it forgot password. Click me. So what I'm now going to do is I'm now going to undo the click event for this button. Now the click event, I'll go to events, so I'll undo click event. So I'll add a new event handler, select action type. Either navigate to page or open dialog. Well, for me to know which is which, I need to look at my reset password. Do I have in my reset password? Let me look at the designer for reset password as well. That'll tell me what I'm going to do. Okay, so reset password was a dialog. So I'm going to select action type here too. Open dialog. and the page will be reset password, reset user password. Click done. Now I'm going to go back to Visual Studio. I'm going to look for this page called draft. This is the page. Click on draft.reso. And what I need from this page is this line. So I'll take it. I'll go to login.reso. I'll put that portion in login.reso. Now there is a challenge. There is no BTM forgot click. Now what I'll do is I'll go to draft.reso. And I do go to definition. Okay. This BTM forgot click is in draft.reso.designer.cs. So I'll go to Solution Explorer. I'll look for login.reso.designer.cs, and there I'm going to paste in this. Remember, login is no longer available for us to edit in Radzin because it's part of our code ignore list. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to run my application in Radzin, but before I do that, I ensure I've saved all the stuff. Okay, so ensure I've done save all. Then I come here, I say run. The layout is not looking too good. So, but let's test. Okay, functionality works. Let's see whether we can make layout to be a bit fine. So how do we do that? Go to login.reso. Put in another column. Racing label. Text. Click button on the right to reset the password. Reset password. Let's stop the application in Radzi. Let's run it from Visual Studio this time around to see what we got. Click the button. I'm going to change it to click the button below. Button below. Reset your password. And on this note, class, we have come to the end of the tutorial series. Thank you for watching. And until I embark on another tutorial series, I wish you the best that life has got to offer. Stay safe.